Welcome back to the Kabab Man Chronicles.
Welcome back. I
Yeah.
thought this was the first one.
No, bro, I've done like 5 episodes.
Oh.
This is like maybe the 5th episode.
Oh, but it's the first one with a guest.
Yes. Okay. Welcome back to the Kabab Man Chronicles. I got Prince joining me, a master trainer at Crunch,
The master trainer.
the one and only. Please give him a round of applause. We're supposed to give you the round of applause.
I clap for myself. Thank you.
Anyway, thank you for joining. I wanted to bring a different business mentality, a different niche to the podcast, just to gain a little bit of exposure, some more insights on how the fitness industry works, how marketing and social media and sales flows still apply. These laws still apply, whether you're in the restaurant space, whether you're in fitness, whether you're in nails, whether you're in esthetician, hair, whatever it is. I just wanted to highlight how there's a few foundational rules that are transferable skills, whether you are in any of the businesses I just listed. And so my friend here, Prince, he's been my trainer for some time, and he asks fantastic questions, and I just know that the audience is going to benefit a lot getting to delve into his brain and his story and seeing what he has to offer and what he has to showcase. So Prince, thank you for joining.
Thank you, Alad. Good to be on here. I'm glad to be your first guest. I'm excited to see what we're going to talk about today.
Please, I want to first fill the audience in about who you are, what you do. How did you become a master trainer at Crunch?
So my story on how I started at Crunch starts like a long, long way back. It basically goes all the way to the beginning of like when I started as a trainer, right? To make the long story a little bit shorter, right? I came over to Crunch when it was around the clock, and I came because I heard it was a chance for me to level up, be more successful, make more money, and I wanted that. I wanted to basically get past where I had capped out at, and I started, I got really, really successful, right? And then Crunch bought us out, and I had to start brand new process, brand new system, new people, new management. And with Crunch, the biggest thing for me was that I had a path of getting almost to like the top of the industry in terms of like working at a commercial gym. And I wanted to push that to the point where I could say I was proud of being a personal trainer and that I was like more successful being a personal trainer than anyone I knew, right? So I just kept going and kept going and kept going. And now I'm at where I'm at, where the people are looking at me and saying, how do I get to where you are?
Wow, nice story. And I hope in this podcast we'll be able to share some key nuggets of your story that were able to take you from the seemingly top of the mountain that around the clock, and then you realize that, oh, I gotta re-hike this mountain again with Crunch, a whole new brand and system and workflow and all those things in between. What were some transferable skills that helped you hike the mountain with around the clock that also helped you hike the mountain with Crunch? And I'm assuming because you did it once with around the clock, you were able to do it faster and better with Crunch.
So the biggest thing is just perseverance. Like people always like to use the cliches, like it's not about the dog in the fight, it's about fighting the dog, right? The biggest thing that I learned at around the clock was that I need to put the time in and I needed to put the effort in consistently if I wanted to be successful. Like I needed to get in early, I needed to leave late, I needed to do lists, I needed to talk to people, I needed to be uncomfortable, and I needed to keep on going and going and going, right?
So you would say obsession and ambition were the two transferable skills that were able to...
Absolutely. That transfers everywhere. Like if you are obsessed with being successful, if you have the ambition that I'm going to win and like I won't stop until I'm number one, right? You will become number one. Like everyone's path and timeline to that is going to be different. But if you want it, if you are obsessed with the idea of I need to be at the top of this place, you will get to the top of the place that you exist in, where you want to be.
Now it's funny you say that because the previous videos, one of them was titled Obsession, and this is where I delved in a little bit about my personality and my perspective in the restaurant space and how you need obsession and you need to focus on the little details because they do matter. something I always say is the details are what make the experience. It's the obsession over the little points of your craft and what you're doing. And to backpack off what you're saying, I do agree that wherever you put your mind to, that is something you can achieve if you take the weight off, or if you take the importance off of the outcome itself. You have to really focus on the inputs. Just what are the things that I can do every single day to bring my goal just that much closer? And when you fall in love with this process, this process of constant betterment in every little facet of whatever that is that you're doing, you really stop caring about the outcomes. It no longer becomes a monetary thing. It no longer becomes a status thing. You just become the person that accomplishes the goal. You become the leader of the mission. You become the person that takes the ship into uncharted oceans. And so my favorite part about this process, and I'm sure you may agree, my favorite part of the process of starting at the bottom of the mountain and climbing up is actually the climb. There are different parts of my career where I felt like I was at the top of the mountain. And then once you get there and you look, you're like, wait a second, but there's a bigger mountain over there. So you can't get to that new top without going down the mountain that you perceivably thought was the highest mountain. And that down process is humiliating and it's humbling, but it teaches you lessons that transfer to, all right, this is the new hike, this is the new climb. What are some lessons you learned on the downhill hike of being at the top of the mountain with around the clock to now having to climb back up the crunch mountain?
So I really like that you asked that, because so the reason why I originally ended up at around the clock was because I went from the top trainer at LA Fitness, right? A success that, I had like people sending me schedules of the other trainers in California and Texas, and it was like, bro, they're nothing like what we have, right? Like, we're doing it. We're like the top in the entire company.
Wow.
To being average, right? To being like a level that everyone else was at. The fall that happened there made me realize that, one, nothing is guaranteed, right? And that a lot of things that you can take for granted comes from your environmental factors, right? But then on the other side of things is that you have control of the environment that's around you, and you can put in, like, through your own hand, things that will make you more successful and will help you, like, succeed in the long term, right? Like, are you putting good people around you who want to help you succeed? Are you spending time, like, educating yourself, making yourself a more, like, necessary part of people's lives? Like, are you improving other people's day-to-day? Like, learning that there's so many other things that can make you be successful than just what I call like the building aspect of your life is the biggest thing that I learned in my initial downfall, is that I need to be more present in what is happening around me.
So I like how you said your environment shapes your mentality. Now, Prince has been my friend for a few years now. We met when I first took over the restaurant. And this is the first time we are digitizing the many conversations we've had. And something I admire so much about Prince is he always naturally has this question: how do I get better? How can I push the bar even higher? And it just, by God's grace, every few weeks we were able to sit down and meet, and we were able to talk for hours. And so something that I really like about Prince is he asks questions that make you reflect internally. And in the process of you answering these questions and thinking about how to respond to these things, you come up with new ideas and new plans on how to fix maybe another problem, maybe something that you're not even on, maybe something that doesn't even touch the subject you're talking about. But having someone like him in my environment has helped me push my standards and my bar even higher. And I think he feels the same way, vice versa.
Absolutely.
But iron sharpens iron. The people you hold, the people you keep close to, the people who are in your network and who are in your environment, they're the ones that are going to shape your reality. Like, there's this viral clip that goes around with 50 Cent where he quotes his grandpa, and he says, "You're only going to be as successful as the people you spend your free time with." When you have nothing to do and you're sitting with these people and there's nothing to talk about, no money to be made, no business ventures to talk about, no plans for the future, nothing. You're only going to be successful as the people you keep around you when there's nothing to do. And I feel I am blessed to have a friendship like Prince, because not only do we train together, we also sit and eat together, we break bread, we also have conversations about philosophy and psychology and anatomy and all these cool, like heavy hitting subjects that really make you think about beliefs that you might have. And a big point that I want to make is, this goes back to one of the first episodes I made. A lot of the people around you have opinions that are not even theirs. They don't know why they think the way they think about certain subjects. Sometimes it's passed on by an older brother, by a friend, by a father. And they follow that path, they follow that voice, and then they pass it on to you, and you're following on to that. But the basis of that thought or that opinion has no foundation. So you have to sit and question yourself. And this is the path of climbing the mountain. This is what the hike up means. You have to ask yourself, what is it that I believe? And why do I believe it so strongly? Is it my environment that taught me what I believe? Is it the people around me? Is it my work? Is it my... These are the things that you have to dial in as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. Let's put those buzzwords on the side. Just as a human being that is ambitious. If you feel that you are a human being that is ambitious and you have the characteristics of ambition in your bones, you cannot go past the level of what is your perceived beliefs. If you think that the top of around the clock is the mountain, then that's the highest you'll ever go. But as we know, the fitness industry is huge. Maybe being the top of one gym, ambitiously you might think, I want to now be the top at 5 gyms regionally or districtly or statewide or nationally. And you will only go as far as your beliefs and your thoughts allow you to. So if you feel stuck and if you feel like you're at the same level, go internal. Ask yourself, what is it that I believe? Why do I believe it? And is it true? Is it based in reality? Is it the facts of the environment that's actually around me? Or is it what other people told me to believe, what other people told me to think? Do you concur? Do you agree?
Oh, yeah. So it's like this. Your brain can only see and replicate what it basically imagines itself, right? So if what you see is just someone, like a lot of people can only get to as successful as their father, for example. Because if their father was, let's say, just a normal factory worker, right? That's what they see themselves as, right? If you don't have any broader context on what is life, like, is life just your town? Is life just your city? Is life your state? Like, that's all that you push yourself to be.
Absolutely. I agree. So this is something I like to touch about in regards to the realm of business ownership. In the beginning, when you open a business, you have to be a dog, okay? You have to wear all the hats. You have to be there all the time. But that's not the end goal. Your end goal is not to just dislodge from the business and passive income and blah, blah, blah. No. Okay, because if you properly went through the process of hiking up the mountain and you have disattached yourself from the outcome, like, I don't care what the outcome is, I just love who I am while I'm hiking the mountain. That's just innately who I am. That is so in line with my nature as a human. That is my purpose. And not everyone agrees with that. And that's not for everybody. But I know it is for me. And so when you build the business, if you are still doing the same tasks after 2, 3, 4 years, there's a problem. And that problem goes down to systems and staff. Okay? You need to be able to build systems. And you need to be able to train your staff to follow those systems. And then you need to have a correction process for for a way to know that the system broke, or a way to know that an employee did not follow the system, did not follow the script. Why? Because you can only go as far as your mind can imagine. So, like, check this out. When you step away from your business and you go out and travel and you see different things and you meet different people and you receive inspiration from different channels of life, as a business owner, as someone that's on this path, you need to, okay, let me not say you, let me say I. let me speak on my behalf, firsthand. I need to have the space in my life to be able to leave and receive inspiration from other channels, to see if there is a taller mountain than Mount Everest.
Oh, this goes into something I've been thinking heavily on. Like,
Oh, please go.
so something I've been thinking heavily on is building the triangle fully on, like, in my life, right? Like, I touched base on this before with you earlier, right? That to be successful, right, you can't just always be building, right? You can't always just be building the business, working in the business, building the capital, right? You also need to be developing yourself, right? You need to be developing your processes, developing how to do things better, becoming more well-rounded as a person. And you need to be playing, right? You need to have time for personal enjoyment, to be a more well-rounded person, to meet other people, because they all connect with each other, right? If you are someone who never, interacts with others outside of the context of, like, work, school, life, right? You're going to end up becoming, like, a brick, a block.
At some point,
You're not going to be able to be interacting with other people on a person-to-person level.
In the
right?
early parts of your career, then you don't have the option. You don't have the luxury, in my opinion.
That is something that is true.
In the early parts, you have to bite the bullet. You have to stomach that. But that can't be who you are. But I agree with you wholeheartedly. There's a build phase, there's a development phase, and there's a play phase.
I would even say that, like, the phase is, there are things that you need to be learning how to do actively all at the same time. But naturally, it gets easier to be more moldable, right, the further on into your career that you get, right?
So you asked me this question off camera, and you asked me how much of my life is split up between build, play, and develop. Okay, I will address it on myself. There are those were phases in my life. Build, develop, play were phases in my life. But I believe that I've reached the point where everything for me is play. I've detached from outcomes. Okay, yes, I have goals. I have a North Star. I know where I'm going. But that's not my purpose. That's not who I am. My identity is not attached to that. Okay? My identity is attached to doing the things that will make that more of a possible reality, statistically, yes. But what I've found is the more fun I'm having, and let's just zoom out a little bit. Let's look at the macro. We're human beings in society. Okay, there's entrepreneurs and there's doctors and there's personal trainers and there's lawyers and there's all these different facets. But that's not who you are. That's what you do. That's one of the many masks we wear in society. Before you're anything, you're human. Before you are anything, you are a human. Before you have a debate with someone, preface a debate with, hey, by the way, I'm a human, you're a human. We think we know everything, but in reality, we're really just guessing. At best, as we have secondhand knowledge. The reality is, as a human, and this zooms out, this is like a personal, I've never shared this on camera, I've never shared this with anybody, really, like a personal belief I have, is before you are anything, you are human, so be human. Okay, you only have a limited amount of time on this earth. And so enjoy that time. It's a wisp, it's a eyelash, it's a feather. From the time you are born to the time you pass away. It's a blink of an eye. So if you feel overwhelmed and caught up and you feel like you are hitting the same wall and there's no penetration, there's no getting through it, step back. Ask yourself, at least let me speak again in personal, let me ask myself, what's wrong here? Have I attached the other side of this wall, whatever it is on the other side of this wall, have I attached that to me personally? Have I made the goal or the mission on the other side of this wall, once I break through this wall, have I made that who I am? Have I attached a piece of my personality to that? Well, what you've successfully done is you put a piece of you outside of you. And so you can't have that anymore. You've successfully put a shrapnel of your personality, of your characteristics on the outside of you. So there's a piece of you constantly missing. And then once you achieve that, that habit is built of, okay, I achieved that. Okay, I've had the fun. I made the money. Okay, now like, okay, what's next? Now I got that and then that. And there's a cool quote. It goes, what you're chasing is always running away from you. And so recognize that you're a human being before you are anything, and take care of your vessel and take care of your mental before you go and tend to your garden and everything else that's around you. For me, the way I take care of myself and the way I come up with inspiration and ideas and ventures and stuff like that is I travel the world. I go around and I meet people. I stay in hostels. I travel light, just pack a backpack. And I'll walk cities, walk many miles, shake different hands. I learn different languages, listen to different music, learn how to dance different dances. This stuff, when I come back to Fort Myers, first of all, makes me realize how much I love Fort Myers and how much of our city is amazing and how it has so much to offer and how much potential there is in this city. But it also helps me see what's around me differently. For me, that's traveling. For you, that might be making music. It might be dancing. It might be going on a boat. It might be sunbathing. It might be as simple as drawing. But those things, knowing what those things are, that really, truly, it might be working out, that really, truly make you feel human, that make you feel alive. Because when you have that feeling, when you're operating on that frequency and that vibe, everything becomes play. Because now everything comes in line. This is my personal belief.
So it's interesting because, there's definitely portions of what Aladdin said that I would almost say I have a almost like dichotomous like relationship to, in terms of I feel like I almost take like a completely opposite view of. But I would say that, getting to the state where I almost say everything, I wouldn't say is play, but feels like play, would almost be the most efficient, not even most efficient, most successful route of life, right? Because the biggest thing that I realized with the triangle was that if you manage to connect play with both building and developing, right? Then if work feels just like you're playing as you're having fun with working, right? If you find fun in making yourself better, reading, educating yourself, schooling yourself, right? If you find fun in like building new relationships with people, then everything goes from like a hard junction point to being like a smooth, circle. It makes you a whole, holy person, right? And I feel like that is what will make you someone who is able to succeed in any environment and be just someone who gets along and can fit anywhere, right?
Become a dangerous person.
Like when someone almost can just exist in any environment, in any like type setting, they become someone who, I don't like the word chameleon, right? Because I feel like that doesn't.
You think it has a negative connotation?
Not only that, I feel like it doesn't accurately portray the existence properly, right? I almost want to say, in my mind, it makes you the dragon, right? The dragon stands out and exists in any environment, in every culture, as something to be, you know, both feared and worshipped, right? You see the dragon flying through the sky. Whoa, right? You know the dragon can breathe fire and scorch the lands, right? You know the dragon gives, what it wants to give, and it can also harvest, large amounts of gold just for itself, right? The dragon can both be feared, be a great, source of safety, it is an existence that is like one of a kind. And I feel like as a human being, right, we all want to be, well, more than anything else, I think as a human being, we all want to be happy, right? And our own form of happiness is something we all find, individually throughout our life. But I feel like we all want to be special and special to someone and special to ourselves.
2 points, man, that it's like you're reading my history. It's 2 points that you made that are just hilarious. Okay, so I was in Mexico and I went to Chichen Itza, and that's the Mayan ruins, and they have this whole thing where they look at your birth chart and then they do this scaling thing, like they attach your Mayan animal to who you are.
Mm-hmm.
My Mayan animal is the chameleon. So what I find it to be funny is there's two different perspectives about the world right now. Not one is right and not one is wrong. They just are what they are. My perspective is I don't want to stand out. I want to be underlooked. I don't want to be noticed. I want to be the guy that can reflect what his environment is so that I can make my environment what I want it to be without people noticing. Pull the strings from the back. Like
the
Puppet
Shadow
Master.
King.
Yeah. I don't want to be the dragon that they notice in the sky. Why? Because in my eyes, when you're the dragon in the sky, you get all the attention. Now everyone wants to shoot you down. Now you become a threat to their safety. You become a threat to their civilization. And you have to work on being the big, bad, strong dragon that you have to fight everyone. Which is cool. That's if you want. That's what you want. But me, as the chameleon, I see it as I want to befriend the jaguar. I want to befriend the lion. I want to befriend the tiger. I want to befriend the dragon. Anytime I'm in their environment, I want to look like their environment. Because if I have them on my side, then I don't have to do the fighting. They love me, or they respect me, or they listen to me. I've blended in their environment to where I'm not even a blimp on their radar anymore. Just ride slow underneath the radar. Keep it chill. Another thing, you said something about a holy. You become a holy person. What is your definition of a holy man?
My definition would be something I got from you. A holy man is someone who is, a holy man is someone who does not have any hard corners or, I would say, juxtapositions in himself, right? He doesn't have any contradictions in his mind, his body, and his beliefs, because he knows that everything rounds and becomes, part of himself.
I think you've gone deeper into the thought process than I have. Now, whenever people hear holy, and where did this conversation come from? I read this in a book. It was titled, I can't remember the name right now, but the excerpt said, when you think of a holy man, what's the first picture that comes to your mind when you think of a holy man?
A priest.
Someone will say priest, sheikh, monk, Buddha, whatever. That's holy, Holy. Holy. There's a holy, WHO. Holy. And so, whole, to be whole, like a pie, like a circle, like a sphere, like a round. Someone that is not suppressing a part of them or who they are. They're getting to know it and understand where it comes from. They're getting to know their thought, their opinion, that part of their characteristic. Why am I the way I am? Why do I think the way I think? Why am I so hard against certain subjects? What makes me do that? Okay, that comes from my family. That comes from this. That comes from that. And then you go down that rabbit hole and you understand it. And understanding a problem is 50% of solving the problem. And once you get to that point, you're halfway there. And you do your internal work, you do your human things, whatever they are that complete you as a person. And before you know it, you come to terms, you come to peace with that part of you, whatever it is. You want to label it dark and light, however you want to paint it in your mind to make it make sense. Every culture, every religion has a different way to label that. But the end of it all is you becoming holy with yourself. You accepting your past, you accepting your present, you accepting your future, and you accepting who you are as a whole. Detaching from, I need to achieve that. I need to have that to be whole. No, I made myself whole. I became complete on my own. So now I'm only doing and this is how it goes back to play. Now I'm only climbing the mountain for fun. My existence does not depend on me reaching the summit. I've reached the summit internally. So societally, now I can perform. I'm already whole within. And the things I don't know, I'm humble enough to say I just don't know them yet. And I'm okay not knowing. Because at best, we're just a bunch of people sitting in a library full of books that we've never read, debating certain topics. At best. The knowledge that's actually in this universe, that's in this plane, that's in this world, what we know is only a drop of the ocean. It's not even the mist on top of the ocean. But people take their opinions and they take their... Let me not say people. I, at one point, used to take my opinions and my beliefs so seriously and so strongly that if this is what I believed, then these things are wrong. But he brings up the point in the example of dragon. I bring up the point of a chameleon. Not one is right, not one is wrong. They just are. It just is. Okay, so let's pull back away from
the deep talk.
No, let's pull back from let's pull back from philosophy. Mm-hmm. Let's pull back from internal beliefs. Mm-hmm. Let's look at reality. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, what are some things that you may be struggling with right now as a master trainer at Crunch that you are working on proactively every day to try and fine-tune and become better at?
The sales motion I have is that I want, right, for myself, right, the best schedule possible for myself that lets me, even though it might sound a little harsh, that lets me work the least amount and get the most out of it in return, right? In a way, I would like to have a schedule that lets me work as much as possible inside the building and lets me work as little as possible outside of the building. Right? Does that make sense to you?
Elaborate.
So,
give me an example.
Let's say, as an example, for my clients, right, I offer, right, both the in-person session, right, the program and workouts for them when they're not directly with me. I offer them nutrition and meal planning, right?
That's in the building.
That's for the one that in the building and outside of the building. So I give them the in-person component, right, the individual component, and then the nutritional component for when they're by themselves.
Okay.
Right? So the things that I would like to be able to offer them is all of that, right? And be able to give them basically...
What do you mean by all of that? Internal in the building or out the building?
Both.
Okay.
And then I would like for that to be all that they need, right? Naturally, fitness is a very, I would say, complicated thing when it comes to both the mental side of things as well as like the physical side of things, right? So there's the things of like you can give someone an exercise to do, right? They have to be able to do it, right?
Yeah.
You have to be able to show them how to do it properly, right? But then, right?
If they don't eat right, it doesn't matter.
Not even that. If they don't like the exercise and they don't want to do it, even if it may be the best exercise for them, right? That's something you have to, reiterate. Right, you have to educate them on, and then you may need to overcome the mental barriers / the internal challenge for them on why they want to do it. Right, they may hate doing it because it makes them sweat, it makes them feel awkward, and it makes them fail. Right, and those same reasons that it makes them fail, challenges them, and makes them sweat is exactly why they need to do it. Right, so it's just like. Let's take example, for me, if I did a single leg RDL, right, like 3 years ago, right, at that point I was deadlifting 500 pounds, like 600 pounds, right, doing it for reps, easy, right? If I did a single leg kickstand RDL, 135, I'd be sweating, my arms would be shaking, my legs would be shaking, right? One of the other female trainers would be like, why are you doing that with just that weight? I've seen you do so much more than that. That's 135. Yeah. I do that.
Yeah.
But for me, it was more challenging than anything I'd done in that day. And so even not knowing the internal aspects of why this was so challenging for me at the time, I knew that, I need to do this. I need to challenge myself with this because it's innately challenging for me. For other people and for some people, right, they may run from that. they may dread that. I've had clients who tell me, "Could we take this out of the program?" You know, I'm thinking of this exercise the day before, and it's making me dread coming in.
Mm.
And fighting that battle is a big thing of, I wouldn't say I want less of that, but it's almost like wanting more dedicated people or more people who want to fight versus people who need to be pushed into fighting. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I may have your answer.
Mhm.
Okay, so let me ask you this: what part of your day do you love doing the most, in regard to training and training clients? There's nutrition, and then there's accountability, and then there's weightlifting. What of these three sectors is your favorite?
I would say weightlifting.
Weightlifting's your favorite.
Yes.
You could do that all day, every day. You could talk about it. You can live and breathe that, right?
Yes.
Okay, let's take that. And then we're going to forget about the nutrition and the accountability part for now.
Mm-hmm.
The problem you're having right now are the leads you're getting are not optimal for your training style.
And the funniest thing is, I would say, so like naturally, I've been doing this for about 4+ years at this point. Something that I realized is that the clientele that has the largest, I would say, friction in that area are clients who I've had for like numerous years that, you know, came before I, you know, improved my lead generation ability, improved my ability to, you know, seek out qualified leads, right? So you could almost say it's like people more grandfathered in from,
Okay, so
like,
they
a
grew
long
with
time
you. They
back.
grew with the system.
Yes.
Okay, so now that you have your system, there's a lead flow process that I think you should go through. And this goes back to what we were talking about earlier, social media. Social media connects you to the world, my friends. Okay, Kabab fam? Everybody on earth is at your fingertips right now. Social media divides people into two categories. I don't care if you're black, white, green, blue, yellow, Asian, whatever you are. You are divided into two categories when you open up TikTok, YouTube, Threads, Facebook, Instagram. You're either a creator or a consumer. Okay? So when you are a creator, you can, especially when you get good, you can choose your customers, you can choose your avatars, you can choose your followers based off of what you want. The algorithm is very good at finding people that are like-minded like you. And so we'll bring it down to you. You have a problem that certain parts of your clients are not in line with your training style. Cool. So you need to add a level of friction. I'm not saying what you need to do, sorry. What I think you should do is you should add a level of friction into your onboarding process. For example, you're not going to give John, 25-year-old power lifter, the same workout you're going to give Betty, 85-year-old grandma.
Exactly.
But you would rather train John, the 25-year-old power lifter, right?
Yeah.
So there's so many Johns. There's more Johns than you can fill your schedule with.
John Smith.
There
John Michael.
There are so
John
many.
Cena.
There are so many people like John that exist that want your services, and then there are so many people that already exist for Betty. So don't worry about Betty. The riches are in the niches. You ever heard that?
Mm-hmm.
It not just that it rhymes. And when things rhyme, they're true. By the way, no. Not just because it rhymes, it's true. No, it is true. Just like you can pick where you work out, just like you can pick the kind of water you can drink, you can pick the kind of car you drive, you can pick the kind of customers you serve, especially in today's age, especially with social media. Because these platforms have successfully made it possible for ambitious creators, which, by the way, the world is owned right now by ambitious creators. Ambitious creators, it levels the playing field for us to compete with major corporations, Fortune 500s, S&P, like these multi-billion-dollar companies. We can compete with them now. We have the platforms to do it. They have more money to spend, but we negate the money with our creativity, with our uniqueness. every position has a strength and has a weakness. Whether you're big, you have strengths and weaknesses as a big player in the field, and you have strengths and weaknesses as a small player in the field. My point is, getting your message out to the public is free. It's accessible. It's possible. But you have to be crystal clear on who you are serving and what your message is. Prince only trains young people from the ages of 20 to 25 that like to sweat and train hard. Brother, you got a huge market right there. And then what you do is you talk about that on camera. And then you let the algorithm connect you to the people that like to train like you, or at least watch people train like you.
It is sort of, because I realized this over, in a way, like everything that we're talking about is sort of things that, I have realized and sort of shifted towards, like, naturally over the course of, like, the last year. Like, it's shifting from going for whatever you can get, right, and whatever that comes to you, versus going for what you want and what you want to be spending time doing, right? So naturally, in the fitness industry, when you first start out, like, you take whatever you can get. Like, you take
It's with every
anyone
business
who comes to you. Exactly.
Like, in the beginning, as long as you have a credit card and a pulse, you're my customer.
He was like, thank you for coming.
Absolutely.
And as time has gone by, the more I've got to the point where I could be like, well, I don't naturally need your money to exist and survive. So the importance of you as a client, I wouldn't say lessons, but, it's more important that we gel together and what we want and what we want to accomplish gel together. So, like, there was a certain point where I stopped going away from, because especially as you build in the industry, you get a eye for the numbers and an eye for, well, just as a salesman, I'll say the close rate. Like, you get an eye for what has a high close rate, and you get an eye for what has, like, a low close rate. And then I think I've even, like, mentioned this to you before. Is like, do you go after what has a high close rate if it's less important and means less to you? Or do you go after what has a low close rate if it means more to you and it's more what you want? Right? And I've realized that at a certain point is that I wouldn't even say work less, take longer to get to my goal or to get to a certain number if it meant that I enjoyed the time more than simply going after high, success close rates.
Yeah, because it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. You disconnected from the outcome, and you are just focusing on the input. Detach from the outcome. Just make that a North Star. Like, it guides you. It helps you know whether what you're about to do today is right or wrong.
In my life right now, when I think about where am I going, right? I think back on how beautiful this life that I've created is. Right? I think back on all the joy that I've brought into my life and how even as beautiful as this picture is, it will become even more beautiful because my hands are continually working on it as time goes by, right? So when I see things, when I interact with people, there is a layer of, I don't know if I want to call it evilness to it or selectiveness to it, but I'm just like, is this going to enrich my life even more than it is right now? Like,
that's not evil. That's reality, dude.
It's selfish, but
no,
it
it's
is
not.
Reality.
It's not selfish. You have a goal that's your North Star, and so when you have that goal and you have that North Star, okay, what's going to get me there faster? What's going to help me? What's going to bring that closer to me? And so, obviously, doing certain things like eating a bunch of junk food is not going to help you get the six-pack faster. It's going to slow it down. So you're able to look at that and say, this is not what I want to do. This is not for me. So you cut it out. If you have a group of friends that like to do certain things every weekend and party and drink and do all this stuff, well, if you want to be a Fortune 500 CEO, obviously that's going to slow down the process. That's going to hinder the process significantly. So it's not evil to cut that off. What's evil to yourself is allowing your time to be wasted because you only have a certain amount of time. And so if there's anything you ever want to be evil about, it's your time. Waste your money, waste your cars, waste whatever, but not your time.
I can agree with that. The time, that's almost like, as I've gotten older, I've become more of a miser with my time than with my money.
Dude,
Like-
check it out. Like, okay. We have free time in our days. Okay?
We all do.
Let's step into my mentality. Let's step into my frame for life. Okay? My time is spent asking myself, how can things be better around me? That's who I am. That's what lines me up with my purpose. I am a builder. There has never been anybody that's came around me. There's never been anybody that's came around me that has spent time with me that hasn't been better. That's my energy. That's who I am. I bring people up. I build things up. That's just how God made me. That's my purpose. To make things better. I might not be great at making something of nothing. I might not be great of coming up with off-the-wall ideas. But if you give me something, a business, a person, a whatever, and I have time to think and take it apart and look at it and inspect it, I can make it better. And so my free time is spent asking myself, how can I make things better? One huge lever that you can pull as an ambitious creator, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a personal trainer, whether you're a lawyer, whether you're a general contractor, whatever you are, one of the strongest levers you have today is social media. The free time you use scrolling, or the free time you use doing whatever you do in your free time, take some of that and invest it in learning how to make videos. Invest your time in putting together long formats, short formats, podcasts, whatever. Because that, if you're not doing it already, that has the ability to change your fucking life overnight. Overnight. It takes a long time to build that, but then one day, boom. And that's the highest ROI lever that you could be cranking right now as someone that is an ambitious creator. Get yourself out there. Don't be scared of being seen. Don't be scared to make mistakes in public. Don't be scared to be laughed at. Fuck everybody.
Yo,
fuck what everybody thinks.
for real.
Doesn't matter what they think. Because at the end of the day, when you're dead, you're just going to be a thought. At your funeral, people are going to think about how sad they were that you're gone and what they're about to eat an hour from now. That's the reality.